it may be quite important to see that not only that which we call as wrong may be rubbish, but also that which appears right may also equally be rubbish. If suppression appears wrong, expression is not the answer. Our rights and our wrongs both arise from the same center, from the same evaluator. So moving from what appears to be wrong to what appears to be right would hardly ever bring us to silence. The same faculty that decides that you are wrong in a situation has also parallelly in the same moment decided what would now be your definition of the right. In fact, nothing has been left undecided once you have decided what is wrong. Now your rights are also well determined. What is then common between right and wrong? That both of them are being determined by the same agency. Now, superficially, if you stop doing the wrong and start doing the right, that appears like some change. And the superficial change can also bring superficial contentment or pride. Or an enforced relaxation. One may feel that he is now in the zone of the right. One may feel that his life has changed. Earlier he was in darkness, now he is in light. What one does not see is that which we call as light has already been defined by that which we call as darkness. These are simultaneous happenings, concurrent. What has really changed? Nothing. In fact, this movement from wrong to right is not only no change, but it is also inimical to any prospects of real change. You have already moved into the right. You can console yourself by telling yourself that change has already happened. When change has already happened, now where is the space for any further change, any deeper change? any change more real. So apparent change would not allow real change to happen. You would have already ticked the box. You would have already filled the slot. You would have already closed the vacancy. You would say, no, there is nothing wrong. I need not understand. I need not realize. I need not look any further. I've already moved into the right. I've already corrected myself. And if you have already corrected yourself, then it is very easy to roam about in one's self-inflicted vanity. I am correct. I am right. I need not look any further. Real change is never a conscious change. Real change is never a pre-planned change. Real change is never according to expected or foretold patterns. You cannot predict it. You cannot tame it. You cannot guide it or direct it. The conscious mind might come to learn of real change a very long while after it has happened. All that the conscious mind knows is consciousness, thoughts. And thoughts are such poor things. They have no feel, no capacity for the real, for the immense. They don't have the power to penetrate deep. To penetrate deep, there must be a subtlety, a silence, which thought is not imbued with, not equipped with. So never clamor for change. Change that is brought about by effort, by planning, by cultivation, will not be change at all. It would just be a semblance of change. Would not help. In fact, it would, as we said, block the possibility of real change. Letting change happen and changing are two very different things. Letting change happen is surrender. Changing is effort, protection, security, and resistance. Letting change happen is courage, boldness. A trust on the unknown. Changing is a fear of the unknown. Changing is a reluctance to move into uncharted territories. Changing says that even if I have to leave my place and go to some other place, that other place must be firstly a known place. I can move from here to there, but that there must already be known to me even as I stand here. So that there, the destination of change, must already be decided by me even when I have not changed. So the unchanged entity decides what the result and the destination of the change would be. Hence, that destination bears all the imprints of the unchanged entity. That destination carries all the genetic material of its father. The same unchanged entity that was seeing you and was being seen by you. The same unchanged entity that looked so much like a problem is also now deciding the solution. When the solution is nothing but a reflection of the problem, then the solution is worse than the problem. But the ego loves that. The confused mind wants to keep claiming that it can come out of its confusion using its own confused methods. The applier of the method loves to claim that the same methods that brought him to misery would also now somehow miraculously relieve him of the misery. Have you not seen people take resolutions, make promises to themselves, swear, take oath, and if you look at their faces in that moment, their faces are beaming with confidence. They are so sure of themselves. In the moment when you decide that you will be the one who will bring about a change in your life, you will be the one who will solve your problems. Are you not so determined? Are your eyes not all lit up with self-belief? Have you looked at your face in that moment? The face carries Such power. The whole persona appears so heroic. You are valiantly claiming, I am going to change. It could be something as mundane as dropping a few kilograms of your body weight, or it could be a resolution of a king about conquering the rest of the world. Whatever be the resolution, the resolving entity is marked by sureness. Later on you could say that he was cocksure, but in that moment there is such sureness, it almost appears sacred, holy. That is willpower. That is the entity that chooses. That is the conscious mind's belief in the freedom of choice. I want, so I can do. It will happen because I desire it to happen. And that which will happen by my discretion, as per my decision, would be the best thing that can happen to me. Man's life is this procession of change, moving from wrong to right, then finding that the right was hardly right, then calling it wrong, laying the blame somewhere, and then trying to move on to another right, again finding that it is not quite right. It is right, yeah, of course it is right. It is right because how can I call my decision terribly wrong? So it is right, but there can be something that can be, more right. And then moving on and on and on, only to discover that moving on or marching forward hardly takes one anywhere. Answers do not help questions, solutions do not help the problems, change does not help matters. One tendency always remains, always, the tendency to change. Even after series of changes, the tendency, the requirement, the need to change more still remains. Would not real change be about coming back to a point where the need to change is no more? Is change about marching ahead, a kind of evolution, a progression? Or is change about getting rid of the need, the tendency to march ahead? Is change about correcting the wrongs and moving into the rights? Or is change about dropping the belief that correction is needed, or correction is possible, or that you are the suitable agency to correct? Hmm? Real change will come uninformed. Real change will not seek your permission. Real change is bigger than you. Real change will leave your plans frustrated. Real change will leave your thoughts bewildered. Real change will not necessarily be likable. And real change will not help you move closer to your goals. Real change has no obligation to satisfy your plans. You might have decided something for yourself, and all your decisions are always constructed to continue what you are and prevent any change. Your decisions do not aim at change at all, because they are your decisions. Real change will defeat your decisions. That is why we never really allow change to come, even as we keep clamoring for change. That is why somebody has quipped that the more things change, the more they remain the same. Real change may leave you ashamed, aghast, red-faced. In fact, if you were to be informed today of what real change really looks like, you would never opt for it. That is why it must happen surreptitiously. That is why it must happen behind your back. Because left to yourself, you are never going to opt for it. It does not conform to your life. It does not agree to your patterns. It simply just does not fit in. It appears such a stranger. Isn't it great that it happens when you are sleeping? Isn't it great that it enters by the back door? Isn't it great that real change and silence are one thing? Had it not been so silent, you would have detected it. Real change happens in silence. When you have relaxed, when you have gone off to sleep. And by that I do not really mean sleeping on the bed. I mean a condition of the mind similar to the one right now. Right now, in a sense, many of us are asleep. The typical characteristics of the waking state have subdued. There is not much turmoil. There is not a constant flux of thoughts. Now, in this relaxation, real change is already happening. The more still you are, the more silent you are, the more surrendered you are. The more surrendered you are, the more you have opened the doors for real change to enter. The more you are allowing real change to happen, it is already happening right now. And it is great that you are unable to fathom its ways or its intentions. It will take you long before you come to know what really happens. And by then it will be too late. Great that certain things are beyond us and irreversible. In such moments, any attempt by the mind to kick up a storm. Any attempt by the body to create noise is all just the ego's creeping restlessness. The ego cannot know what is going on. But this much it knows, that silence is injurious. So the moment it gets a whiff of silence, remember that the ego can never get more than a whiff of silence. Because if it comes any closer to silence, then the ego will terminate, dissolve. So all that the ego can sense is a whiff of silence. A distant feel of the beyond, very, very distant. But even if it comes to experience that distant feel, it becomes alert. It raises a commotion. The body starts moving. From somewhere, from nowhere, an itch starts. Random thoughts start invading. Parts of body that were still and comfortable till now suddenly start making themselves felt. All of that is just an indication that the ego is feeling warned, that the alarm bell has gone off. That the radar has detected something flying just over the trees. Too low to be really detected. One then quietly, politely excuses himself from silence. One says, I do not know what's wrong, but I sense that there surely something must be. I just don't feel comfortable. Some urgent matter suddenly comes to the mind. Or the ear starts twitching. Or the throat starts coughing. Or a mobile phone rings from somewhere. Things just happen. Matters that were almost non-existent start coming to life and start appearing monumentally important. And then real change is thwarted. The moment is lost. The opportunity is gone. Do remember, everybody, that it is not the length of time that matters. It is the depth in the moment that matters. The purpose of all moments is to bring you to that one moment with sufficient depth. That is why time rolls on. To bring you to that one moment that would be sufficiently deep to take you to silence. That is the only purpose of time. That is the only purpose of life. Unless you come to that one moment, the clock will keep ticking. That which we are does not like that moment. It is not without significance that you read in the old myths that when the sages would be meditating, would be deep in their penance, that the demons would interfere. The stories say that the sage was in the middle of some sacred process, and that's when the wild demons came flying and dropped all kinds of rubbish over the sage, because they didn't want the holy process to reach its climax. Have you read such stories? The evil powers, according to the myths, would say that a great calamity would befall us if the event attains to its depth, to its culmination. Before it does, let us go and quickly disrupt. Let us go and interfere. Those stories are not merely myths. The symbolism is very potent. Whenever real change is about to come, all that which is evil inside us buckles up, gathers all its energy and rushes to kill the moment. Do not take that part of yourself that cannot tolerate silence as yourself. Whenever the real would be dawning upon you, you would find that even as there is grace, even as much is unpredictably happening to support you, parallelly, things are happening to disrupt you, to frustrate and block you. In such moments, do not side with any of the happenings. Just stand. There is no need to move. Remember that I am not saying that you must side with grace. I am not saying that you must assist the agency that is trying to bring real change to you. That agency does not need your support. That agency does not need you at all in any form, any shape. And it's quite mysterious that to need you, rather to help you, it does not need you. It can help you only in your absence. If you are present, that help cannot take place. It's like a surgeon who will be able to successfully operate you only after you have been put on anesthesia. As long as you are present and conscious, the surgeon cannot help you. Grace is similar to that surgeon. Grace can help you only after you have been put to asleep. Grace can help you only when you do not detect grace, you do not try to do anything with grace, only when you do not try to help grace. What would happen to a heart patient on the operating table who decides to help his surgeon? He says, the surgeon is trying to help me, I must reciprocate. So he says, now this way, now that injection, now bring in that medicine, now begin with this procedure. What is the best way a patient can help the surgeon? Yes? By not trying to help at all. Just disappear. Just disappear and let the surgeon do what he would. That is the only way to help grace. Surrender. Let grace do its thing. You relieve yourself from the scene. Grace does not need your help. The other party, however, does actively need your help. The other party that is determined to block change needs your help. And how does it need your help? It needs your active contribution in any form. If you try to help grace, you are active. And if you try to resist grace, even then you are active. Any activity on your behalf would just serve to block real change. Grace is trying to help you. The evil in us, the dark in us, the ignorant in us, the resistant in us is trying to block change. If you try to take sides, then it doesn't matter which side you take. You are taking really only one side. Which side are you taking? You are taking the side of the evil powers. Because by taking sides, you have ensured that you are active, that you are not asleep, that the anesthesia has not worked. This is one of the very common pitfalls. There are those who side with the evil. They, of course, remain sided with the evil. And then there are those who start trying to side with God. They fall into a trap even deeper. Because by trying to side with God, or help grace, or change for the better, you have ensured that no God, no grace, no real change will be of any avail to you. It is ego to block change. It is even deeper ego to try to change. Letting change happen is in a different dimension. It is neither about blocking change, nor is it about trying to change. Change just happens. Just happens. In your quietness, change just happens. But we want to be sure, we want to ask. We want to know in advance. We want a roadmap, a blueprint. Don't we? How do I know that this change is going to benefit me? Surely it is not going to benefit you. The surgeon does not benefit the heart disease. The surgeon, however, does benefit the heart. Most of us are identified with diseases. Most of us are identified with heart disease rather than the heart. So real change is not going to benefit us. It will dissolve us. I just hope that we have the wisdom to see that dissolution is the best benefit that we can get.